Be sure to log into your YouTube account, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. We are in La Quinta, California, aka Palm Springs, at the 2023 Porsche Parade, and I wanted to share with you what I consider the ultimate Unstock car, a modified Porsche that was modified for the specific purpose of being the autocross champion. It's not just a car that's going to be able to win that title here at Parade. It's going to take individuals to pilot this amazing car, and I want to introduce you to Tara and Steve. Come on over, guys. Welcome.
Hey, Boo.
Hey, Boo.
But more importantly, congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at FTD, fastest time of day at Porsche Parade. Both of you, a couple, a married couple, smiling, driving an amazing car. This car, we've got so much to go over. Hopefully this won't be an hour video because we've got a lot to cover.
And it's hot today.
It's hot, it's hot. But it's a dry heat and it's really comfortable.
Yeah.
But Tara, this is your ride. This is Stormy, as in the reference to Star Wars and its color scheme and how evil it kind of is, right?
It's got an evil side.
So tell me, how was it at the autocross and how did it do?
It was awesome. We've been building this car for 4 years for yesterday, and it was kind of a dream come true for everything I've been thinking about in my head and just playing the day out, and it went exactly how it was perfect. It couldn't have gone any better. Well, maybe if I got top time of day, but.
Well, so there is a little bit of friction going on here.
Not friction.
Because what was it? Was it 1 second? No, not even 1 second.
It was a little less.
It's 7/10 of a second.
7/10 of a second. And for some reason, I think there's some sort of remote control rev limiter that maybe just took out about 1,000 RPM, so someone couldn't pass someone else.
She got the last run. She did great.
No, it was awesome. We were flip-flopping. I guess I had top time of day for
a while.
Two or three runs, and then he stole it at the end, but it was
of course
okay.
he did.
I would say technically Tara won. If we had a 3-run format, she would have taken it.
But I'll have to say, I know Steve very well because when I first saw him run at the Monterey Porsche Parade, like all eyes was on him. I'm like, that dude is fast, and that car does. Ooh, that car is very well set up, as is this car. So you're actually, I wouldn't say a long-time autocrosser. I mean, less than a decade. I think maybe seven or 8 years.
Five or six.
So
5 or 6.
you've been in it for a while.
Yes.
But so I'm just gonna throw it out like this. You've been in it a long time. She's a newcomer, but you're both SCCA champions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So cheers to you.
That's right.
But
cheers to you.
leave them hanging. So tell me, this car started life. Was it originally 100% stock, or how did it start?
You want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it. So the funny thing is, it's a 2010 Cayman S originally, not anymore. And we had a friend of ours that was doing a project, bought my modified stuff that I won at Monterey at one point, and thought I'd never see it again. And a couple years later, he calls me up and says, hey, I got this project, one of those things where it's 80% done, but I think life changes. And I looked at Tara, I was like, Tara, you want your first Porsche? I guess this would be a perfect project.
Her very first Porsche.
Her first Porsche.
A project car.
A project car.
Now, don't people, you've been around this long enough that they say don't buy a project car. Buy a car that's done. You don't listen, apparently.
Yeah, I didn't listen. All Porsches have good bones, and this had the bones. When you look at the details, it had the bones. Yes, parts can be interchanged, but if it has a good chassis, good bones, haven't been in an accident, all Porsches are great. So we looked at it, inspected it, we knew the person that kept it, and Tara's like, oh, I'm writing the check now.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't even negotiate, here it is.
So was it a running car?
It was a running car.
Yeah.
It was about to get turbocharged. He didn't finish the project. He was actually in line for a new 911.
Okay.
And so it was kind of like I said, 80% done. And I just said, our dream was to have a mid-engine race car autocrosser. We've been driving rear engines for a while, and I wanted to see what we can do with a mid-engine Cayman, take it to the highest level.
And I think that's a good distinction because some people say race car and they're maybe referring to taking a car to the track, whereas when in your mind right now is this car is a race car but for autocrossing. And the build for an autocross car is very much different from a track car. It can be borderline in between, but to be the best you got to build a autocross specific or track specific.
Yeah, so you nailed it. Autocross cars are generally light. You want as much tire, because you're doing low speed, right? Anything under 80 miles lower is what you're not going 100 plus miles an hour. So anything that has to do with getting the weight down, getting as much tire, not necessarily about horsepower, but getting the balance. It's all about fine precision, which is very different. On a track, you kind of know all the turns.
Right.
The challenge, and I'd recommend anybody to do it, is the challenge is you don't know. It's a new track.
It changes every time you go.
So that's what's so appealing.
Right.
Is you go in, it's a like, I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I think you gear the car to that. Highly tunable, highly adjustable, so you can handle all those conditions, and that's what's so fun about it. And everybody thinks it's just parking lot racing, but we love the competition.
Absolutely.
And that's what addicted us to.
And you know, you have it grabs your attention for, you know, your 30-second one, 40-second for a minute. Like, that's all you can think of in the world. Like, you have to truly disconnect if you want to do well. The crazy thing is, when you build up an autocross car, brakes aren't necessary. Like, stock brakes are probably for most people are good enough. Like, you don't have to have crazy huge brakes for a competitive autocross car. So, because we have so much to cover, let's start with the front.
Go for it. Have fun, guys.
So, obviously, when you walk up to this, that splitter is no joke. I mean, it is full carbon. It's got support right here, and it's actually like you've got channels underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, on an autocross car, you want downforce, right? You're not, basically most cars from the factory come with understeer for a safety reason, right? You don't want to spin out on the street. But for an autocross, that's what you don't want. You want the car to turn when you want it to turn. So this is a technique most people do, is they put a splitter, and the splitter is to capture the high air pressure and push down, literally push down. I can almost stand on this to get the weight on the front tires. And everything here that's designed here is to basically trap the air and force it down on that splitter to get as much bite on the front tires as possible.
Newbie autocrossers quickly find out what it means for a car to push.
Yes.
Because naturally when cars are delivered to customers, it's safer for a car to push than to have the opposite where the rear end comes around them. So autocrossers are always struggling to get more grip to the front, planted, and having to do so without hitting the brakes. And how do you do that? Is with aero. We're recording live.
He agrees.
And so this here, I think they're called canards or
canards.
Canards.
Yeah.
If you even see them on a car, usually you're only going to see one. You've doubled up.
Yeah, most race cars, even on tracks, double up. It's really to channel two things. It provides additional downforce, and it also channels air and less turbulence across the wheels. But really for us, we're just trying to put as much downforce as possible. I even would put a wall here to basically create a bulldozer effect and just channel the air down. And that's what we're really trying to do here. I want as much air downforce as possible in the front to get the front tires to work.
Now I notice in the openings up front, a lot of track cars, they kind of Swiss cheese the front and they'll put a center radiator here. I've noticed you are, I think, running just two stock radiators. Again, at an autocross or maybe even at track, like, is that enough for this car? Yeah,
so you hit it on the head a little bit. Track is a lot about a heat management, right? You're going high speed, get the air out of the brakes, get it out of the coolant. Autocrossing, you don't need as much, and in this case, as long as you watch the temperature. Your temperature is the best indication on what's going on in the engine. You put as much coolant and cooling capacity as needed. So we didn't need a center radiator. We didn't need massive airflow because I'm just trying to shove the air and push it down as fast as possible for an autocross car. And yeah, and then they work fine. Yeah, absolutely.
So these carbon fiber pieces, is this over a headlight or is there no headlight?
No, there's no headlight.
No headlight, so taking weight out of the car.
Taking weight out.
Since we're talking about weight, you know, a stock Cayman is probably, what, around 3,800, 3,900 pounds?
Oh, not 38, more like 3,000, around 3,000.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 29 to 30,000.
A stock one?
Not 3,800, you're talking about a different brand of cars, man.
You
that's
like
me. Turbocharged cars at 3,800.
Maybe I'm thinking all-wheel drive turbo S or something like that.
They're around, so, roughly you give like between 3,000, 3,100, 32 is a good number.
And then this car has? Let's share with your competitors. It's sub
2,500. I would say at this condition right now, it's probably about 2,450.
And that lightness is, if you can pop the front, we can see where some of that lightness comes from.
Yeah, I mean, everything is stripped out. You know, we don't even have the stock lever. You know, we got this. Everything's pulled out, right? Anything that took out weight. This is fairly simple for a couple reasons. We want reliability. We don't want to cut up everything yet, but we have a power steering unit now. It's not a part of the engine. That's electric power steering, hydraulic electric. We have a lightweight battery. We have this is necessary. You know, you have to have a good set of shocks, but everything else, any additional wiring, sound insulation, all gone. In fact, this is aluminum. Porsche did a good job on the hood. It's aluminum. I don't.
Yeah, you could go to carbon, but you're not going to save that much more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know, when you look at saving weight, especially for a Cayman, it's easy to do in the front. It's harder to do in the back.
Yeah.
So your center of gravity shifts. So you want to try to balance that out as much as possible. So I'm not necessarily trying to rip everything out in front, because then it's going to feel like a 911 again. Yeah. I'm trying to balance both the front and the rear.
But I've noticed, you know, things that you don't need to go autocrossing, you've taken it off. Like HVAC stuff under there, gone.
Yeah.
Windshield wiper motors, gone. Wipers, gone. Covers, gone.
Yeah. We don't need, obviously, spare tools. You should have a spare tool set out. Anything that has to do with the headlight system is gone. Anything to do with the airbag systems is gone. Anything basically really focused on lightness and the necessities, and without going too far to compromise reliability.
Exactly, and so we don't want to give away what the power plant is just yet, but that electric power steering setup is trick. And talk about the ABS unit.
Yeah, so a lot of the modern cars now, you know, everybody's going hybrid and electric, so there's plenty of electric hydraulic power steering units. So this happens to be a unit from like a cup car. And so it does two things. It adds more weight where I kind of need it up front, and it's easy to control electrically. And then the ABS system is something you want to fine tune as well. And it's a Bosch Motorsports ABS system. You don't see that too often on street cars, or actually at all. Yeah. But on race cars, it's pretty common. And this is, again, a very similar, same system as a cup car, where it's highly tunable, and it really makes a huge difference. So
let's walk towards the middle.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, you notice these door skins are not stock. No door handles. I don't even know how to open the door.
Dukes of Hazzard. Don't even remember that. We'll jump in.
Bo and Luke Duke. Where we go? So how do we open this?
Yeah, it's right there. It's pretty straight. There you go. Yeah.
Like a cup car.
Yeah. So
super light. Look at this. Oh my goodness. And it's all business. I mean, anything that is a luxury, it's out of there. Interesting enough, I noticed that you know, I think a lot of autocrossers nowadays autocrossers really understand the advantage of a PDK transmission. Again, without giving away what the power plant is, I'm super impressed that you are able to do what you do, and you've still got 3 pedals and a manual shifter.
Yeah, I appreciate that. There's a couple philosophies. The PDK is definitely faster, hands down, so I appreciate that. Me and Tara, my wife, we're diehard manual fans. So part of it was, we want to keep the manual live as much as possible. So we're kind of a homage to that, and keep it simple. Again, PDKs take a lot of programming and other things. If you're modifying, stock is perfect. So reduce the complications, and also we like 3 pedals. So there's the manual.
And the stock dash is no longer there. That was too heavy for you, or?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we took out the AC unit. We put Alcantara for a couple of reasons. One, if you look at it, it's a matte finish, and you don't get the glare.
The glare in the windshield, yep.
And so we want to simplify the dash. I just need a digital dash for basic things like coolant temperatures and RPM. And
is that an AIM unit?
It is an AIM unit,
okay.
Yeah. And then the switches, I wanted it not to be, again, little analog for reasons. I'm a pilot by hobby as well, and I like the flip switches and the red lights and all that stuff. So I wanted to keep a non-digital. I just want to like the switches. You know, it's nice mechanical click.
Right.
And so that's
what's the rotary knob? The Bosch rotary knob.
So that controls the ABS system.
So if I control the level.
Right.
What?
Yeah. So if we're running in wet conditions, I can get more of an aggressive ABS system. If I want to have me control the balance of the car, I could turn it.
Dial it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's way cool. Underneath, every HVAC, every extra wire that wasn't needed is gone. The floor is that stock the way it's?
No, this is a couple things. You're moving your feet a lot, as you know, shifting.
Yeah.
So we want something really, so we can move our feet real quick.
Yeah.
So it's a aluminum aftermarket to cover that part. We took it off the other side. Yeah. But basically, it's for our feet to make sure it's going quick and
a smooth surface.
Exactly. So we did
a smooth dance floor.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So we did that. We kept the stock. The steering rack and everything is factory because it's adjustable for both of us. So it's really nice. We got a light bucket carbon seat in it, but everything else is really focused. Yeah, proud of that dash, just getting that all fitting in
and
not like torn up. You know?
It's super
really
clean.
Yeah.
So before we get into the power plant, you will definitely notice how wide this vehicle is with these extra flares. And I believe you bought the car with the flares on.
I did. It is rare to see a wide body Cayman. We think it looks fantastic.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're running over 300 millimeter tire square. You know, so that's much bigger than the factory. In fact, I'm not even sure if the new RS has that big of a front. We're 315 up front.
And it's an 11-inch wheel?
Yeah, it's an 11.5-inch wheel up front and a 12-inch wheel in the back. So we're stuffing as much, again, autocrossers, they're trying to get as much rubber as possible.
And there's another autocross trick that they have up their sleeves. Like right now you see these, I believe these are probably what, 18, 19s?
Yeah, these are 18s. Yeah.
18s, but when you were on the course, you had little itty bitty wheels where many autocrossers back in the day would show up with their little hatchbacks and have tiny wheels. What size wheels do you run at an autocross?
Yeah, so we typically like the 18s. So it's a great autocross thing. You know, the smaller tire wheels helps with the acceleration and getting out on tight courses. At the course today, it was smaller, so we decided to go smaller diameter 16s. But we'll get in the power plant a bit. But with the 18s, it's perfectly great. It helps us with getting on the trailer a little bit easier. But we go back and forth depending on the lot size.
So however you show up and depending on the course setup, it might be more advantageous to have that little diameter. If it's a little bit longer, a little bit more straights, then you're going with the 18s.
Exactly. So we're not rowing the shifter so much.
All right, so without further ado, may I introduce to you the power plant of this crazy build. This is a...
Yeah, so it was always a dream to build the ultimate Cayman, and when you know, everybody talks about it like, you know, we want, you know, the ultimate Cayman would have the ultimate engine and the ultimate chassis mid-engine, and I've had this dream for a while, and the Metzger design was really prohibitive because you had to do so much work. But when Porsche switched to the 9A1 design, a lot of light bulbs went on. Said, oh, you know, what? This almost
what if?
Yeah, what if?
What if?
And so this is a 991.2 GT3, basically RS motor that we got lucky. We found one. It wasn't cheap, but we've got it. And I did a lot of engineering background. I did a lot of dimensional work and other things. I said, I think this is gonna fit. You know, you hear like it doesn't fit. And I think it's gonna fit, so I took the gamble.
There's a lot of folklore out there about whether or not this engine can fit into this platform. And as we were talking earlier, the more and more he started measuring things, he's like, it does fit.
It does fit.
It does fit.
Everything lines up. Everything lines up. You know, to the drivetrain, to the motor mounts, to the coolant systems. They're really the only thing when Porsche says, they weren't joking, by the way, you know, the oil tank's gonna get in the way, and we'll talk about that in a bit. I have a little provision for the oil tank, even kept the stock engine lid on it, but as you guys know with the GT4 RS, you know, it really does fit. It even fits on the older style 987 platform, so which is phenomenal.
And in part of your initial discovery and exploration with the blocks, you were saying that there were mounting points that you had to tap, but they were there and they were usable.
Yeah, the 981 platform is an unbelievable engine block, and there's some tap holes that they just didn't drill out for reasons, but there were provisions that you can mount a Cayman thing. I'm like, oh, it's right there. All you have to do is
tap it and put a stud in it.
Yeah, put the hole for a Cayman, and it worked out real. There's lots of little. It was actually a fun little project because it was really cool to see the engineering and the artwork of like, oh, they did this and that fits there, and they just did this, and really modular system, which I think was their intent to make it modular. And yeah, it worked out really well. The stock, there wasn't a single mount that I had to custom make.
That's amazing.
So that was pretty cool.
But there was something that you had to make a provision for, and that was at the top of the engine. Yeah,
one of them was the top of the engine. So they weren't joking about the oil tank. So if you look here, we did, again, I wanted to keep the reference to an OEM lid, but we did have to do the provisions for the oil tank. So usually we have this bolted down, but I'll take it off. So you can see here, there's the oil tank. It's right there. That is a stock OEM GT3 oil tank. And a couple things about it. I don't have the electronics to do the typical dash and measure the oil level.
Yeah.
So we made it simpler. We have a dipstick.
Old school.
Old school, reliable. So on the tank is a little ported tapped hole, and
that Allen
Allen key is it. Yeah, and this allows me to just dip it down and take a look at the oil, and I'm ready to go. And,
Now, the orientation of the intake, did that remain the same or did things turn around?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the whole motor is a 180, it has to flip.
Yeah.
So the whole intake has to flip. So it's a lot of little things you just flip, but it does work the other way around. Some flapper valves.
Because it's exactly 180.
Exactly,
Yeah,
180,
yeah.
right. So it flipped all those, the throttle body flipped around. So a lot of little things that flip around, but nothing like I have to re-engineer this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Nothing of that nature, which is awesome, which
Yeah.
is fun. So I built a little lid and a little provisions for that and cut that out. And then I think the other big project would be the airbox system, right? So instead of coming from the sides, which is usually on the stock Cayman,
Right.
we have the fans on the side, but we have the air intakes right here. And I wanted, again, to keep the Porsche theme. So these are actually 997 GT3.1 intakes that I grafted.
So these are factory pieces?
These are factory pieces.
Okay,
yeah,
and then you grafted onto your lid?
To a Cayman lid.
Wow.
Yeah, so it looked like it came from the factory.
So did you start this airbox before you knew that the Weissach package on a GT4 RS has an intake right by the neck, by your head? Like, were you like, oh, darn it, why didn't they come out with it a little bit sooner? Maybe I would have done it here.
It would have been cool to do here, but I actually like it back there.
Yeah.
Because again, it helped lighten things up. I didn't have to take off hoses to check the oil tank.
That's true.
And other things. And so I'm actually proud of doing that graft myself. I do like the design here, but
But this is a nod to the GT3, which is very cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
And of course, this big old wang thing.
Yeah, the wang.
Yeah.
So autocross is like, downforce. We have a wang. This is kind of our temporary wing. We're testing things out. We'll probably design a swan neck type design, but
That'd be
for
cool.
now it's cool. And then coming back to the exhaust, the GT3 muffler works, right? So this is actually off of my GT3 RS. It used to be a broken titanium muffler that we fixed and welded up, and it bolted right on to the back of a Cayman transmission. And again, still using the over axle exhaust system, fairly stock under there. Put some extra mufflers to quiet this beast down a little bit. And there it goes. It looks like it was built for it. Right?
So although this is wildly modified, I like that mechanicals and many of the things that you've done to this car is still very much the stock items. And that I've got to imagine that's for reliability.
Yes, absolutely. For any race car, you want reliability. You don't want to be out there and go, oh no, something rubbing, something cracked, something leaking. So the more, Porsche spent lots in OEM things for a reason. And you just want to try to keep that because it's reliable. So stock axles, stock transmission, stock engine mounts, we tighten that up a little bit, but the design, all the basic mounting holes, all the same as the factory. So
absolutely amazing car. I know you guys are in Northern California, I believe. We have, as you know, Unstock in Southern California once a year. I hope you will bring this car, and both you and Tara will be my special guests. Congratulations,
so
FTD at Parade. Without further ado, we're gonna roll the clips and let you see how this thing rips.